What if a company's most effective marketing tool was your own frustration? What if the secret to building one of the world's most beloved brands was to make the customer do almost all the work? It sounds absurd. In a world of instant gratification and on-demand service, it's a strategy that should fail. But it doesn't. In fact, it has created a global empire. And the reason why reveals a strange and powerful quirk in our own psychology. IKEA, a Swedish company that sells over $1 billion worth of furniture every single week. Their success is often credited to their low prices, made possible by their famous flat pack model. By shipping furniture in pieces, they save an enormous amount on logistics and storage. But that's only half the story. It's the obvious answer. The real strategy is far more subtle and far more brilliant. The true genius of IKEA isn't what they do to their costs. It's what they do to your brain. So, how did IKEA turn customer labor into its greatest asset? How did they transform a box of particle board and a handful of screws into a powerful engine for brand loyalty? That's the question we're answering today. The story begins not with a psychologist, but with a logistical problem. The year is 1956. An early IKEA employee named Gillis Lundgren is trying to fit a table into his car after a photo shoot. It won't go in. Frustrated, he says, "Let's take the damn legs off." In that moment of simple exasperation, an entire industry was born. By removing the legs, he had invented flat-pack furniture. This innovation was purely practical. It was a cost-saving measure. Assembled furniture is mostly empty space. It's expensive to ship and store. It's also easily damaged. Flat-pack solved all of this. It slashed shipping and storage costs. It reduced waste from damage. Those savings were passed on to the customer, allowing IKEA to undercut its competition with shockingly low prices. For decades, everyone, including IKEA, believed this was the simple secret to their success: low cost. But along the way, they began to notice something strange. Customers weren't just tolerating the assembly process. They seemed proud of it. They would show off their wobbly bookshelves and uneven cabinets as if they were masterpieces. IKEA had accidentally stumbled upon a profound psychological trigger. A cognitive bias so powerful, it would eventually be named after the company itself. In 2011, 3 researchers decided to investigate this phenomenon. Michael Norton of Harvard Business School, Daniel Moken of Yale, and Dan Orley of Duke University. They conducted a series of simple but brilliant experiments. In one study, they brought in 2 groups of participants. The first group, the builders, were given a plain, simple IKEA storage box and a set of instructions. They were tasked with assembling it. The second group, the non-builders, were simply shown a pre-assembled, identical box. Then, the researchers asked everyone how much they would be willing to pay for the box. The results were staggering. The non-builders, who just saw the finished product, valued the box at an average of 25 cents. The builders, who had invested their own time and effort to construct the exact same box, valued it at an average of 78 cents. A premium of over 200%. They repeated the experiment with Lego sets and even origami. The result was always the same. The people who built the item consistently saw more value in it. They loved their amateurish, imperfect creations as much as, or even more than, the creations of experts. The researchers gave this bias a name, the IKEA Effect. It's a specific form of a broader psychological concept called effort justification. It's our deep-seated need to believe that our effort is worthwhile. When we pour labor into a task, we subconsciously inflate the value of the outcome to justify the energy we spent. Your brain is essentially saying, "I wouldn't have worked that hard for something that's worthless. Therefore, this thing must be valuable." IKEA was no longer just selling furniture. It was selling a feeling of accomplishment. A sense of pride. The struggle wasn't a side effect of their business model. The struggle was becoming the product itself. But there's a catch. The IKEA effect only works if the labor leads to successful completion. If a task is too difficult, it doesn't lead to love. It leads to rage. Anyone who has spent an evening searching for a missing screw or trying to decipher a confusing diagram knows this feeling intimately. This is where IKEA's second stroke of genius comes in. They have perfected the art of the just right challenge. The assembly process is engineered to be just challenging enough to make you feel smart when you finish, but not so hard that you give up. Think about their iconic, wordless instruction manuals. Using only diagrams allows them to sell the same product globally without translation. But it also turns the assembly into a universal puzzle. It's a test of your spatial reasoning and problem-solving skills. The parts are designed to fit together in a specific way. The tools are often included. The entire experience is a carefully controlled journey with a guaranteed destination, a finished piece of furniture. When you finally tighten that last screw and stand back to look at your work, the sense of relief and pride is immense. You didn't just buy a bookshelf. You built it. You conquered the challenge. That positive emotional payload is then transferred directly onto the object itself. Every time you look at that piece of furniture, you're subtly reminded of your own competence. This principle of labor leading to love extends far beyond furniture. In the 1950s, food company General Mills wanted to sell a new product, instant cake mix. All you had to do was add water. They thought it would be a huge hit. But it flopped. Puzzled, they hired psychologists to find out why. The answer they found was surprising. The process was too easy. It felt like cheating. There was no effort, and therefore, no feeling of accomplishment. The person baking the cake didn't feel like they had actually baked it. So, General Mills made a small but brilliant change. They re-released the mix with a new instruction: add your own egg. That one tiny step was enough. By adding the labor of cracking a fresh egg into the mix, people now felt they were participants in the creation. They were no longer just adding water, they were baking. Sales skyrocketed. The same effect is the entire business model for companies like Build-A-Bear Workshop, where you don't buy a toy, you create one. It's why we value a highly customized software interface or a personalized playlist. We don't just value the product. We value the effort we invested in it. And that is the secret. IKEA's genius was not in creating flat-pack furniture to save money. Their true genius was in transforming that cost-saving measure into a deeply effective psychological strategy. They don't sell you furniture. They sell you a project. They sell you the chance to prove your own competence. The labor you invest isn't a downside you tolerate for a lower price. It is the emotional entry fee you pay to fall in love with the product. The frustration you feel during the build isn't a flaw in the design. It is a feature of the marketing. IKEA understood, perhaps before anyone else, that we are not just passive consumers. We are creators. And we value most what we ourselves have helped to create. The box they deliver to your home contains more than just particle board and screws. It contains a carefully engineered journey, designed to end with you looking at your creation and feeling a powerful, unshakable sense of pride. The IKEA Effect teaches us a fundamental lesson about value. Value isn't just about price or quality. It's also about investment. Emotional investment. By inviting customers to be co-creators in the process, IKEA lowers its own costs, increases the perceived value of its products, and builds a level of brand loyalty that competitors can only dream of. It is a perfect strategic trifecta, and a powerful reminder that sometimes the best way to get customers to love your brand is to let them build it themselves. If you learn something new, hit the like button and subscribe for more strategy breakdowns. And let us know in the comments, what company's strategy should we unlock next?